Have you ever wondered what it was like to go behind the scenes with a land contractor to look at a piece of property, to give the landowners an assessment, and then also give them a ballpark estimate? Well, if so, you are in luck today, because that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to go look at a 370 acre property that's listed currently. And these potential land buyers reached out to me because they wanted our opinion, and they also wanted an assessment done of the projects that they have in mind. They basically want to know what the ballpark cost is so they can kind of figure this in when they're purchasing this potential property. Now, we're going to be looking at this together, and I'm going to take you along with me. We're going to look at this land. We're going to look at the terrain and how it's laid out. This is going to be an awesome experience for you to go with me behind the scenes to look at this property. We got about a 40-minute drive, so if you stay tuned and hang out with us, we're going to walk through this thing together. Looks like this is Flat Creek, and it's a little less than 2 miles from the property. It's beautiful. Yes, this is it. Looks like the realtor's here, so I'm going to meet up with him, and the landowner should be here shortly. So we're going to be driving up here and meeting with the listing agent and then the showing agent. I just got done meeting him, and I also met the potential land buyer. So we're going to go up here and take a look at things and kind of get an idea. Probably going to be riding on that UTV as well. So after arriving on the property and seeing that this was a very, very beautiful place, I began to unpack the maps that I printed off. Basically what I did is I got on the computer and I printed off the topo map, and I also got on Google Earth and kind of mapped it out to see exactly how many acres was open, how many acres was wooded. And then also on that topo map, you can kind of see the steepness of the terrain and how much most of it falls off. And then you can kind of get a 2D or 3D view of the property and see where the hills are. You can see where the valleys are. That's a really neat tool to be able to use when you're looking at some of these for a land assessment. So I had these tools in my toolbox, so to speak. Arrived here to the property. You saw us pull in and met with a realtor here, but I want to show you what I did next. Is I come out here and I pulled up this map system. This was one of the things that I printed off, so I can exactly see this is the gate that we came in, and then the drive went right up through here, and this is where that building was that you saw me take some videos of and that I just shared with you. But this is where that is located at. And two of the things that this particular landowner wanted me to look at is the clearing. Because as we understood before we even arrived, a lot of this has been cleared. You can kind of tell a lot of it's been cleared, but it's not been touched for several years. And I'll show you here in these pictures in this video here what we're talking about. But this area over here as well, it needs a lot of work with a piece of equipment that's going to probably mulch it, because you'll see some of the sizes are pretty good size in that. But it's very important to have a map, kind of an ID here of what's going to be laid out. So the road comes in right here, and I said already that two of the things that the landowner really wanted us to look at today was clearing, kind of get an idea and a ballpark price of how we can price that out. Because they want to, if they buy this property, they want us to be able to come in and get this thing in tip-top shape. That's what their vision, that's what their goal is. And I told him, I said, that's what we can do, and we'll kind of give you a potential idea of what that cost and what that scope of work is going to be. The other thing is they wanted us to look at is a driveway. And it's not just a normal driveway. This is a 6,000 foot driveway. And I'll show you here what their intentions are is to build back here. So what's going to have to happen is this road that comes in here, they're wanting to improve this and put gravel down and it comes all the way down through here, all the way back here. It makes a circle and comes back here. They're wanting to build back in this area, so they are looking at adding a 6,000 foot driveway. Now, if you know anything about driveways, you know that the longer the driveway is, the more money it's going to cost, because rock is outrageous in pricing. Not only that, but in today's time, just the trucking and the diesel fuel, and I called and checked on the rock price, and I wrote some figures down, and it's kind of crazy, but just for the rock itself was going to be like $30,000 to build this 6,000 foot driveway. That's just rock. That's not the haul fee. The hauling fee is almost that same amount. So you're looking at spending anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 on just the rock and the hauling, and then my fees on top of that to be able to cut out the topsoil, to lay the bigger rock on the bottom, and then to top it off with the smaller 1-inch base rock. You can see that the cost can really add up, and these are some of the figures that I'm going to be putting together to give this potential land buyer. Is if they're going to build a driveway this long, they have to realize it's going to be a little pricey. So as we begin to look at the clearing here, the landowner kind of put us together a kind of a map area idea here of what they're looking at. So they drawed this line here, and so this line here kind of follows along on top of those meadows and on top of what you would call the hills of the land. And this all down here is way down in the valleys. They don't want anything touched here, but all this here is what they're looking at, and then all this here. So I did some measuring online, and that comes to about 45 acres to be cleared. And we're going to take you around on the UTV, and we're going to show you what this looks like. I'm thinking a skid steer with a brush cutter, but there's also some bigger stuff, some locust trees. It's going to probably have to have a forestry mulcher, a drum mulcher on. And then there's some that's back in this area here, some big locust trees that's pretty good size. I would say every bit a foot in diameter. And I told the potential buyer that those types of trees would probably have to have a dozer on site to be able to take those things out. So anyway, I measured all of this as well. This, to be cleared, is 35 acres. So we've got 45 acres and we've got 35 acres. Now you see here they wrote down 6,000 foot gravel road, and then also they wrote down putting a 5,000 foot 5-wire fencing with pipe corners and 1 gate. I did not look at that, but they did kind of X that out where they would like that fence to go, and that was one thing that we did not discuss today. After looking at this, we'll certainly see that we would most likely have to clear for a fence. I made it up here to the top, and the view is unbelievably beautiful. We begin to load up in these UTVs, begin to ride around and see the areas that were needing cleared, and the potential buyer pointed out all these areas that they would like us to put together a proposal and an estimate for, both sides. We stopped, we looked at the property outlines, we even went down some four-wheel drive paths and stuff. The potential buyer says, yeah, I want all those cedar trees gone, I want all this to be established pasture. There's lots of locust trees, we've seen all of that. We've seen these areas here that had been cleared in the years past, but they're starting to overgrow. They want that gone. This particular area is the same way. Lots of overgrowth. We can come in there, we can get all that trimmed and cut out as well. And then we got ready to go on the road. And this is the road that the potential land buyer is wanting us to create. A nice gravel road, 6,000 foot, all the way to the back of the property. So as you can tell, it's a fairly nice little road. It just needs to have the topsoil cut out and base rock laid in there, and that's something we can do. And then we were pointing out more overgrowth on both sides of the road that this potential buyer is wanting us to put together an estimate to have all cleared off and cleared out. They want the aesthetics of this property to be awesome. And then that road continues down through the woods, kind of a downhill. You can see that this had been dozed in the past and the road laid out, but they all weren't gravel all the way through there. And then we got to the back of the property, and as you can tell, even the back of the property has got overgrowth on both sides. After it was cleared, evidently whoever owned it before did not keep it maintained, and it's grown back up. So there's a lot of cost that's going to be impacting that as well, as far as in the estimate. Both sides, lots of acreage. We're talking close to 80 acres to 90 acres that's going to have to be cleared and all this overgrowth taken away. We made it back here to the back of the property. Well, just getting back, what amazing piece of property that was. 370 acres. Got to meet some fantastic people, met with the potential land buyer, met with her buyer's agent, and then also met the listing agent, and then also met the landowner of the property. So there were several of us out there at that property, and we got to drive around, we got to take a look at it. We had 2 UTVs out there. The landowner took us around on all the trails, showed us where that potential road is through there, as you've already seen in the video. But after talking with the potential buyer there for just a little bit before leaving, we decided that there's probably 2 main things that they are interested in. And those were the things that we eventually kind of knew already going into it, was the access road going to the very back of the property, which was 6,000 foot long. And come to find out, it looked like it had been dozed several years ago and shaped, so it's actually fairly good shape. The other thing too that I noticed about that is it's a very rocky ground, and as that road runs along the ridge, that's probably going to save the potential land buyer some money on the excavating of the topsoil, because there's not going to be much topsoil there. Therefore, you know, the labor charge in taking that out isn't going to be as much, and therefore they're not going to have as much rock brought in. So that's going to be some money saving there. I've still got one contractor that's going to be providing me a cost for the trucking and the cost of the rock. They'll get back with me in the next day or two, and then I can kind of present this stuff to the potential land buyer there on that. And as you've seen, there is quite a bit of overgrowth of brush. There is so much opportunity for pasture there, and that's what this potential landowner was looking for, or buyer was looking for. And we decided, and as we began to talk, they want it all opened up and grazable, which I'm going to have some different pieces of equipment and some different things that come in there. And we decided to probably go on a day rate for the clearing, just because some of it's thick, some of it's thin, and the potential land buyer suggested that I go that route. I guess where they're from, they've had some contractors that they've worked with, and they said that having a day rate works better for them instead of acreage. And I understand, especially with the terrain there, it may say that I need to clear 30 acres, and some of it may be fairly steep, but actually, if you count all that steepness in, if it was all ironed out flat, it'd be more than that. It'd be at least several acres more. So probably a day rate would go better on that. If you're thinking about buying land and you want a professional to come and be alongside you as you begin to look at properties and want an idea of what kind of improvements can be recommended and kind of a ballpark pricing idea, then please reach out to me, reach out to Brian, the land guy, send me a message. I'd love to be able to get with you and give you some good feedback. And if you're local, I can do a site assessment. I wouldn't mind to drive up to possibly an hour away from my location and meet with you if I can be of an assistance and help to you to kind of help with the consultation process of buying a piece of property. Just let me know. I'd love to be able to have that opportunity to work with you on whether it be some clearing or some pond work, or just basically some improvement work, or even management. If you've got a piece of property and you're out of state and you need help with some land management, please reach out. I'd love that opportunity to work with you as well. Well, that pretty much takes care of this particular video, this episode. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our new channel.